This is Carson Cook, and in this video, we're going to talk about tactics, an attacking pattern that is used to gain an advantage. If you don't understand what I mean by that, you'll see in a second. Now, the first tactic I'm going to go over is a fork. So a fork occurs when a piece of lesser value attacks two pieces of greater value at the same time, forcing your opponent to choose which one to give up. Here there are two examples. The first one to show is with the knight. So in this position, the knight can play here with check, attacking both the king and the queen, both of which are greater value than the knight. The king must move away, and white can freely take the queen. The other fork that is in this position is done with the pawn. The pawn advances here, playing check, and here it's defended by the other pawn, so the king can't freely take it. Since it is check, the king must move, and white can freely take black's rook, winning a rook for a pawn. This is a fork. The next tactic we're going to learn about is a pin. A pin is when you use a piece to tie down a piece of lesser value to a piece of greater value. Now, an example of this right here is going to be done with the white bishop. The white bishop is going to attack the black knight, but the knight cannot move because the piece of greater value, here the king, is behind it. It's actually illegal to move the knight, as if you're putting the king in check. With pins, what you normally want to do is try to attack the piece that's being pinned to try to overwhelm it and hopefully win it. So here, if we have black just make a random move to show my point with this, white can play pawn to d5, and now we have three separate attackers on this knight. It's going to be taken as black can do nothing else to defend it. So the next move, white will take with the pawn, winning material. And after black takes back, white can take back with either the bishop or the rook, whatever he chooses. Now white has won an entire knight and is clearly winning the game. The other type of pin that is present in this game is being done by the rook. The rook can move to this square and pin the queen to the king. Even though the queen is stronger than the king, it is of less value as the king is worth the game. The queen cannot move away from the pin as it'll put the king in check. So black must give up the queen for the rook, and now white has a significant advantage. That is a pin. The next tactic we're going to talk about is a skewer. A skewer is similar to a pin, where you're attacking a piece with another piece behind it, but it's the opposite. In a skewer, you attack a piece that's in front of another piece, but the piece you're attacking is of greater value. Here are some examples. The first skewer we have here is by playing the bishop to b2, check. The bishop is attacking the king, and there's a queen behind it. The king is of greater value than the queen, and the king must move since it's in check, allowing the queen to be taken freely. And the next type of skewer that's in this position is done with the rook. The rook will attack the king with check. The king must move out of the way, and there's a knight of lesser value behind the king that you can take for free now. Also in this position, there's another example of a pin. Here, white can promote their pawn, doing an under promotion to a bishop, and the queen is now pinned to the king and is protected by the rook. So black will take the bishop, white will take back, and white just won a queen for bishop. Keep in mind the difference between a pin and a skewer. A pin, the lesser piece is in front of the greater piece. A skewer, the greater piece in front of the lesser piece. That was a skewer. The next tactic we'll talk about is a double check. A double check is exactly what it sounds like. Two pieces are attacking the king, both giving them check. Here are two examples of a double check. In this position, white can move their bishop to either c6 or g6. Both are double check. So c6 first. By moving the bishop to c6, the bishop is checking the king, but it also unveiled a check by the rook. As you can see in the original position, there is no check being given as the bishop is in the way. By moving it here, they're now both giving check. Now in a double check, the only way that you can get out of it is by moving the king, as you cannot protect against both pieces at once, and you cannot capture both pieces at once. So black will move the king out of the way, allowing white to take the bishop freely. Now showing the move in the other way, white will play their bishop to g6, double check, black must move their king away, and now white can freely take the knight. This was a double check. The next tactic we will learn about is a discovered attack. A discovered attack is similar to the double check that I just showed. It involves moving a piece away to show an attack on a piece that was not previously there. So here in this example, there are multiple discovered attacks. The first one I'm going to show involves this rook, this bishop, and the king. So the discovered attack here is I will move my bishop away to a7, opening up the rook check on the king that was not previously there. This is the discovered attack, as it was not previously there. The king must move away, and I get to take the queen freely. Like I said earlier, the queen cannot take back the bishop because the king is in check. The next example in this position is done on this side of the board. Here, the white can move their bishop to f7, checking the black king. Black will take the white bishop back, which leaves white to freely take black's queen. Since black is in check, he must do something about that bishop, allowing the queen to be taken freely. The last example of a discovered attack in this position is done with this bishop again. But instead of moving the bishop here, this rook is protected, so a check is not required to get the discovered attack off. Here, black will move their queen somewhere, and the knight can be taken freely. This was a discovered attack. In this lesson, we have learned about 5 different types of basic beginner's tactics. They were pins, skewers, forks, double checks, and discovered attacks. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.